Welcome to Nostalgia Pilots, a Gundam podcast that's probably going to be executed tomorrow. I'm Hugh.
I'm Jurd.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Spence.
And we're here to talk about Mobile Suit Gundam, the 08th MS Team Episode 5, The Broken Order to Stand By.
So, also known as Eledore Fucks Up.
Yeah, also known as going AWOL and then going to a bar behind enemy lines.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
we didn't even get the 80s Nick Nolte montage where they get trashed and wasted and then get captured. But anyway, we're sort of getting ahead of ourselves because this episode opens on a stew.
By the way, that gets ruined by Eledore being a dick.
Yeah.
Eledore being a dick is the recurring theme of this episode. So
Yes.
Yeah, and he starts out strong with a pot and causes like this stew looks pretty good. It looks like it's got like a cream base, got some vegetables, maybe a variation on potato soup, possibly. And what does he do?
I assumed it was just beans.
Yeah, I thought it was like a dinty stew.
Yeah, and then Eledore just comes up and spins his tires and kicks all the dirt into this stew.
yeah, it's even made with love.
From a hover tank. So you know he had to put effort into that.
Yeah. Because the old man prospector, has a love interest in town now, Maria.
Miss Maria.
And, to be fair, we meet her later on, and I'm really surprised that she's actually just a modestly dressed older woman. There's nothing, ridiculously misogynistic about her, but there's nothing super, problematic with her either. She's just a nice character. I was impressed.
It's kind of a wholesome relationship because he even gives up the bottle at one point so she can disinfect some stuff.
And he's just like, oh, you just go ahead. You take my canteen. But that's way down the line.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's back up a little bit.
Although I did find the animation of her shoving entire loaves of bread in their faces kind of hilarious.
It's just some food. They're getting executed tomorrow.
Okay, so Eledore and the guy who's always writing, Michel.
Michel.
They've just come back in the hover tank. They've been away for a while. They discover the stew, but more importantly, Eledore has mail.
Physical mail.
Eledore never gets mail. And he looks at it and it's all serious.
We have giant building-sized mech warrior robots, but we still gotta get them letters, son.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think it costs them to shoot the letters down from space?
That's a $50 letter, right?
Yeah.
Are they shooting them up in a rocket and then down in a different capsule?
Well, maybe they got a bargain with SpaceX.
Based on SpaceX's owner's behavior, I'm going to go with not likely.
Oh, yeah, fair. So the mail, in fact, turns out to be news that Eledore, who, if you may recall... Oh, we lost Banks.
Oh, no. I actually did not recall this fact about Eledore, so... This was a new revelation to me.
Yes, his musical career, which has really only been obliquely referred to while they're in the tank with waiting out other events. But he's quite convinced his song's going to be pressed, which apparently is how they referred to it back then. And it's going to be number one, baby.
They're going to literally press a future record.
I'm still trying to gather my mind around how the recording industry works in the future. Because we've seen variations on it, right? With Macross and Gundam Seed and so many other Mobile Suit shows where, what is it? Macross, Do You Remember Love? Where singing saves the world. But what in the world is Eleanor singing about, for one? Who would think that song is any sort of good? And third, they have giant building-sized mech warrior robots. You could directly beam this song across the galaxy. Who's pressing anything?
But it's a song by a soldier, and it's called Love and Peace, and it's gotta be number one.
So
I bet you it's techno pop.
I So what crossed my mind was that episode of South Park where they had what is the guy the country singer comes there and he's like, see, it'll be a hit song. You can sing about anything. See, watch 9/11, 9/11, and he puts the concert on, and it's like the biggest hit ever. Like I just feel like Eledore's doing something like that. He's just like singing about some random triumph. Like he's probably been reading the letters to BB and using those as song lyrics.
Well, then you get into another song called "Killing Me Softly."
Yeah. I was legitimately disappointed that we didn't get a spin of whatever his song was going to be.
I imagine that it sounds a lot like a mixture of the intro song mixed with Papa Don't Preach. And love and peace. We're in trouble, deep love and peace. Okay, I'm done.
Wow. Like, we don't even really get an indication of what instrument he plays, although later in the episode he's like, don't cut off my arm, I need it to play music.
Yeah, so
I can't use the Ableton without that.
So I'm guessing it has to be, I would say, a guitar, and because you can't say it'd be drums, because as we know, you can't play the drums with one arm.
Oh,
well, you can play with one arm if you have talent. We're talking about Eledore here.
I imagine it's a Casio. It's just a big old Casio keyboard.
I was gonna say a keytar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Judging by his haircut, not outside the realm of possibility.
Oh, man.
So now that he's got a song, like every YouTube wonder, now that he's got a song, he immediately decides he's going to quit the army, which actually brought to mind the notion, like, does this military have conscription or the draft? I don't really understand.
Because he just says, I'm going to put in for a discharge. I'm not dying with you guys. By the way, and then you drag poor little Nicole with you to this bar. Like, you just told him.
So, to be fair, he goaded him into it. Because originally, Michel didn't want to go. And then he's like, whatever, loser. I'm going to go be cool. You're not man enough to do this. And Michel's like, I am so. And he comes,
Dear BB,
Amuro disappeared for months and it was fine.
Dear BB, I'm so mad enough.
Like, Amuro wandered off all the time. It's totally cool.
It is true.
But also, Amuro ended up being very capable after he got over a whole season's worth of whining.
They get to that bar and it's like, hey, let's have a drink. Oh my god, we're surrounded.
My thing is, if you're the Zeon soldiers and you're trying to hide out in this town, wouldn't you have left the bar intact? Wouldn't you have, tried to keep up some sort of front? Because, you're not that far from your enemy.
Yeah, I love the fact that they get through the line to the bar. It's only once they're at the bar that they're like, well, maybe we should put a stop to this.
Yeah, and they're trying to protect this secret weapon. You don't protect the secret weapon by rousting the entire town and ramshackling it to your whims. No, you quietly just look. You get the mayor of the town or whatever, you take him over, you tell him to put a stay in place order, and you just quietly handle your business and leave. You don't make a ruckus. We've also seen that the Federation doesn't actually care about the humans on Earth.
Yeah, but you have to understand that they're evil, and you can tell they're evil because they have evil helmets. The way that they control this town is to shoot babies.
Feverish, sick babies.
And they're apparently constantly sending radio signals about where their secret plans are because the commander is carrying...
it wasn't even encoded.
They're like, well, let's check if we can pick up any radio chatter. They're definitely not in Area 182. Oh, let's check out where Area 182.
They're just, there's just so much wrong with everything here. Also, if you're trying to repair, did that machine get that much damage when we saw it last? It seemed like they couldn't damage it anyway, so it was more like self-inflicted wounds.
I think it requires a lot of tuning.
It got a space flat and had to get a rotation.
Still ugly as hell, though.
Yeah. So they get captured, and they're being held in Hotel Casablanca because what is subtlety?
I like the fact that, like, you hear them screaming outside, and old girl's like, "What is that?" "Oh, those are the Fetties being interrogated." And then she just goes in this, like, little mini monologue of, "I hate this war."
Yeah, like, Aina's pretty much just like, I'm too fashionable to be a party to war crimes. I'm going back to my spaceship.
The funny thing about that, though, is they cut inside, and it's not immediately apparent that there's any sort of torture going on. Like, you do eventually get sort of this red cheek.
Like, he got punched in the face.
Yeah, but they're just screaming and screaming from outside the house.
They're screaming like they're being tortured like Han in Cloud City.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I expected there to be, like, lacerations and him being, like...
I expected them to be in some way tied up.
Yeah.
I wanted some Mel Gibson cheek action from Lethal Weapon. I wanted that kind of, like, with the sponge on the battery type stuff. Like, but no, they were actually just being questioned aggressively.
I do want to spare a moment, though.
In the Hotel Casablanca.
Yeah, for the real war crime of this episode, which was that mother and child getting gunned down off screen.
Yeah, no, that was horrifying.
To be fair, it wasn't off screen. Miss Fashionable Hair watched it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry if you're the sister of the second in command, and the way this military has shown us that you have clout, you could have stopped that. Like, you could have stopped that. Like,
and also if they want the support of the town, why would you? And you don't want them to leave. Why would you not just, like, give them access to your doctor? Because that guy's sickly, so we know he has a doctor.
Yeah. Her brother has a doctor. I'm pretty sure it's a 24-hour type of thing. Like, or better yet, let her go to the next town or better yet, take her there. Like, you send her with a detachment of soldiers because you seem to have enough to handle a small town. There can't be major cities nearby, so just take over that town too. Like, I mean, a couple of mobile suits against people with pitchforks and rocks. I'm sorry, they're not Ewoks. They're not gonna handle you, guy. It's fine.
Jerica's really just worried that TMZ is gonna catch up and out everything that's going on here. So,
I love how you still call her Jerica.
Yeah.
So, did anybody feel bad when the commander and Karen zero in on where to go, and they're like, "Okay, Sanders, you stay here and work the comms"?
No, well, I feel like he was relieved.
I would have liked to see some more capable Sanders, but at the same time, because your commo guys ran off, somebody had to draw the short stick.
Like, Sanders got his spotlight episode last week, so he's hanging back today.
Yeah.
Although we do get a bunch of low-key Karen just being competent at every turn and getting things done.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being sexually harassed for her trouble.
Oh my god, that is the worst scene.
Okay,
I'm not there yet, but oh my god.
Oh my god.
When we get there, I have a little anecdotal thing that I can share.
Oh god.
Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, we're back in the Hotel Casablanca, where you can check out anytime you like. But I am shocked that there's gambling going on in this establishment.
So, let's talk about this impromptu escape, because
we have to talk about Maria showing up first with her druid friend
on the motorcycle.
I like that no one's allowed to talk to her either. No one's allowed to talk to the young girl, who we all know who it is, but no, we're not going to get her face. It's secret.
So,
well, I think that's probably also a protection thing. Like, if she is making like this kid is maybe a niece or something, right. You know, she doesn't want the soldiers talking to a barely a teenager, even if they don't mean any harm by it, which is what the guard says. You know, it's a very practical thing. It's like, don't talk to my daughter or whatever.
Yeah. See, but my only thing is, like, that's so risky because both sides of this war know that there are guerrillas running around. Mm-hmm. And so you would think that they would know who probably the second most wanted member of the guerrillas is, the daughter of the leader. So, like, why would you risk her coming there? Like, why would didn't she have grunts for this? Is it one of those guys that was beating the crap out of the commander there? Can't they be like, I don't know, her brother?
Well, I think the notion is supposed to be that because she's a younger girl that she's less likely to be picked out, right? Like, I think she's supposed to be covert.
Yeah.
It's
not like she's showing her
robe.
It's not like she's showing her flaming red hair or her crop top.
Yeah.
Or floating naked in the river when she's trying to be inconspicuous. Like, she's going to be inconspicuous by wearing Catra's outfit from Gundam Wing.
Right.
So Maria manages to politely strong-arm her way into the closet that they're keeping Eledore and Michel to provide them some loaves of bread, healing death bread. And then very briefly afterwards, after a bunch of just thinking Eledore is the worst, Eledore and Michel get in a fist fight.
Yeah.
They get into a straight up normal like fist fight. This is after Eledore offered to defect.
Yes.
And then Michel's like, you weren't really going to defect, were you? And he's like, oh no, of course not.
If I had to say that, you'd be dead. Yeah. See,
because what are the Geneva Conventions anyway?
He has turned out to be the absolute worst.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing redeemable about him. To the point that it goes to the last second of the episode.
Yeah.
Well, even the kind of moment where he might have been able to redeem himself, it was just all an accident. Like, Eledore and Michel end up in a cry-off, and then there's some eye scratching, and then basically the guard who was going to execute them in the morning is like, hey guys, don't hurt yourselves. And so he tries to pull them apart, and Eledore doesn't... in another story, you might have that moment where Eledore's like, I was just fooling all along, and then, bops him. But no, he basically tries to punch out Michel, misses, and manages to knock out the guard, and they're like, well, let's go, I guess.
So they escape by accident, and now that guard will never be able to finish reading his National Geographic article about penguins.
Because he will be executed in the morning.
Oh gosh, this is just and you would think maybe at some point he would get that anime trope redemption where he's I thought it was gonna happen when he was in the crane tank thing and be like
that friggin' thing. Yeah, so constantly complaining about how they have to keep the window open while they're getting shot through the window.
So and that's some next level claustrophobia panic shit.
But they've never had that issue in their tank, have they?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if it's because it's a mobile suit cockpit as opposed to a tank. He can't deal with something some trauma from his past, or was he cursed by a witch to never be allowed to go into a mobile suit cockpit? We just don't know. It's never addressed.
The problem is that might be interesting backstory if at this point I didn't think he was such a dick. But they've established him so deeply in dick territory that I don't care.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, at this point, you're rooting for him to be shot and killed so Nicole can have a moment where he can, I'm going to avenge you, Eledore, don't you worry. Your song's going to get out there. And he's going to go ape shit in this, mobile suit tank thing. But no, Eledore is just wrong at every turn. Nicole's like, yo, we need to get in that tank. I'm not getting in. No, seriously, we need to get into that tank. They're shooting at us now. And he's like, nope, not doing it. Mm-mm.
He gets shrapnel through his leg and shot in the arm, and he still won't close the friggin' door.
I do like that Michel, at one point while they were in the prison, was like, you do realize this is your fault, right?
Yeah.
And we're all like, yes, somebody said it.
It's just... when he got shot and shrapnel on the leg, I was like, now are you going to shut it? No, you're still not going to shut it? Well, then you can just die already. You can die and we can get a new character.
And he would have too if Karen wasn't so competent, because she turns out to be a former medical student. So that's actually the more interesting.
And also an assassin. I think we skipped that part.
But Karen has the best backstory because it matches the backstory that I came up with in a fanfic for something else completely. So I was like, she was a surgeon's wife? Oh my god, I love her more now. Okay, I'm done.
I do like the scene that prior to that when the girl is escaping to presumably to let them know where their friends are being held captive. Mm-hmm. Like, since they're already in the area, they're like, oh, there's one guy escaping on a bike. Karen, take him. And she just like jumps off a cliff with a knife and knocks her off of a motorcycle. But
I was like, is she going to do a drive-by shanking? Like, because she leaps out of the tall grass.
But it's like that whole thing where like where Wu Fei like just threw a motorcycle and he was fine. Like if you fall off a motorcycle, it doesn't hurt. Like that's not a problem.
The weird thing is the teen gorilla girl looks like somebody just tore up her trapper keeper. Like she looks like she's going to cry, but not in an I'm injured way.
She liked that motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like Karen's pulling triple duty in this. She's a scout. She's taken out the thought to be escaping soldier. She's also in the like misdirection assault thing that we get to see, which is also some really cool animation.
Mm-hmm. And then she's a field medic.
Yeah, like
she is the Watson to Shiro's Holmes. Or wait. She needs a pay raise, like a promotion. No,
she's more like the Jeeves to Shiro's Wooster.
Oh god! Oh my god!
But that does unfortunately bring us to the worst part of the episode and a series of transgressions by Eledore. So Karen manages to basically patch him back together, and he's going off to the hospital, and he briefly wakes up, and then awfulness.
Okay, so here's what happened. What happened was he is in a lot of pain and briefly wakes up and is like, don't take my hands. And Karen goes, see, you have both hands here. And she holds his hand, and then his hand goes bloop, right where you think it's going to go, right on her boob.
Yeah.
But to be fair, she let it go. She didn't let it go, but he pulled it away. So it was being held into the air. I feel this is a ploy. I feel this is Eledore being trash. I feel like
totally trash.
Like, because I literally was in my head going, don't do this. He will literally be irredeemable at this point. Like nothing will bring him home.
And I think you're right, because the last thing he says before he passes back out is, a goddess for sure.
Yeah.
As someone who does work kind of in caregiver capacity, sometimes people in those altered states can do things that are terrible. I have heard horror stories from nursing homes, and I'm sure certain people's roommates can also attest to this. And unfortunately, it happens, even though it's disgusting.
It does, and be honest. When I was in the military, I was put in the hospital for dry socket. I was doped up on morphine for like days. It was crazy. They gave me a morphine antibiotic drip. It was some of the best time ever, but I don't remember it. But the nurses said I was the most sweet and pleasurable person, aka I was flirting unconsciously with the nurse.
I'm sorry, way you worded that, the most pleasurable person. I'm going. Hello. What kind of hospital did you go to?
But also, I kept my hands to myself, probably because I couldn't feel them. But that's again, Eleanor's trash.
And I do want to point out that my favorite part of that scene is that Eledore demands anesthetic, so Karen punches him in the face.
She should have punched him a second time for good measure for future transgressions.
Yeah.
And then worse, when he wakes up and is transported to the hospital, they essentially say something to the effect of, I can't recall what it is to bring Karen into the conversation, but he's like, why would
Karen is doing something else, and they're all seeing him off.
Yeah.
And Shiro's like, Karen saved your life. Do you have anything you want to say to her?
And he goes, and I quote, a cold-hearted woman like that, why would she care?
Ugh.
Oh, God damn it.
I really wish this episode ended with a letter to BB being like, and unfortunately Eledore died on the way to the hospital.
because it's possible, because they got him strapped to the back of that thing like a hood ornament.
One thing that I did really like animation-wise was the way that they portrayed Karen as they're riding off, because she is looking up at a Zaku that is like down on one knee, like it's bowing to her, which reinforces that goddess statement that Eledore had. And I really loved that bit of animation, because it was like very I don't know. It was a different pace than the rest of it.
If we're talking favorite moments, mine was actually also a bit of Karen animation, although while she was in her mobile suit. There was that scene where they're hunting through the sort of jungle, and although you have all of the Gundam suits in that sort of standard white and blue, it's all in shadow, and just the eyes are sort of showing through. And anyway, it was quite a neat little animated sequence.
Oh, I liked that, yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my favorite too, because I recently just watched. Matter of fact, yesterday I just watched Book of Eli, and there's a scene in Book of Eli where Denzel Washington says, where he's talking to these guys who just attacked him on the road, and he goes, they're like, "What did he just say?" Because he cuts this guy's hand off, and the guy says, "Why are you standing there? Go kiss him." And they're like, "What?" And he goes, Denzel just picks up his sword and puts it on his side, and he backs up into the shadow under a bridge, and he just says, "He's in shock. I think he meant kill him." And as he fades into the shadows, that's when the cool silhouetted fight happens. And I just got reminded of that, because they kept fading in and out of the shadows, and Shiro even says, we need to split up, and so they can't pinpoint how many of us there are, because they're outnumbered, obviously. And it was just a really good strategic moment, and really, really good animation. Like,
yeah.
And Shiro doesn't do much. It's mostly Karen handling business.
Well, Shiro also has the kid in his Zaku again.
Yeah, sure. At least we didn't get any awkward bumping around with people's butts and faces. Anyway, Hugh, what was your favorite moment?
I actually did like that guard. Like the whole sequence of the guard, like reading the magazine.
Yes.
Pausing, going back to his magazine, telling them to shut up, looking in there, and then like opening the door. And then to have the whole thing like be an accident, because I was really expecting it to be like, showed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was purposeful, that would have changed the whole view of the situation.
Like the fact that it wasn't just underscored how like ridiculous and terrible these characters are, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, but at the end, your sympathy was with the guard. You're like, oh, that poor guard.
Like,
he's never going to see those penguins.
And the worst part about it was he was showing a moment of sympathy. Like, he was like, no, guys, like, hey, stop that. Like,
yeah, he had just let them be fed, and then he was like trying to break up the fight.
Yeah, like, see, he should have. You know what? To be fair, if they're being executed tomorrow, let them fight it out. It's fine.
Let them fight.
I don't know how much any of you guys know about like the whole like timeline of the Gundam Universal Century universe, but like of which characters turn fascist when like the Federation goes quote unquote bad, like in the later series is. Like, yeah, Eledore and Michel, yeah, they're not going to have any problems. Those guys are like going to sign right up.
Yeah, they're right on to, yeah.
Just, my goodness, I thought we had gotten away from the awkwardness and misogynistic things. Especially when Karen she's solid through this whole episode. Just solid.
I feel like all of the story writers should have a cross-armed Karen frowning down at them as they're writing, so that they will rethink their choices.
It should be. Look, it's actually a panorama. It's got Karen looking very sternly down at them, arms crossed, and it's got a Sally Poe giving them the mom face.
Yes.
And then it also has like ready for my scene, Mr. Spielberg knowing in her like epaulets and fancy outfit, giving them that dignified, my goodness, you should be ashamed look.
Like, I can't wait till we get to G Gundam so Spence can meet Rain.
Oh my gosh.
We also need Dorothy and Lady Un, and Lady Un should be pointing a gun at the viewer.
Like, let's just be fair. Lady Un would have shot them. Like, let's just they.
Like Lady Un would have been like, "This is your cell. You'll probably executed tomorrow." Heh. Why wait?
Yeah. Hungry for an execution? Why wait? It just shoots them. Like, and they cinematically slow-mo like John Woo fall into 2 reclining chairs, and she's like, "We'll throw them out of the rocket on the way up."
Yeah, I was gonna say once the F-Salis is taking off, you can just fire them out the back.
Like, just my gosh! Like, if you're going to be captured by the enemy, show some dignity. Like.
Lady Un, have you executed anyone recently? Why do you ask? Because you're mean when you're bloodthirsty.
Here, have an assassination.
Yeah.
Instead of a Snickers.
Here's this C4 compact.
Have fun.
Oh my gosh. Just so so the only soldiers we haven't got spotlights on are Eledore and Nicole. We've gotten Karen, we've gotten Sanders, we've gotten Shiro. So when are these two supposed to have their moment?
I think we're going to get more of an in-depth on Karen. I think we've gotten some backstory on her, but I wouldn't say we've gotten like a spotlight.
But like the backstory has come from other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Karen-focused episode would be nice without the boob
I think.
Wait till you find out BB is just a hallucination.
Yeah, I think we learn more about Michel later in the series.
You know, I would love. I don't think we don't get to see a picture of BB though, do we?
I think we do in the last episode. Last episode is like the Michel episode, if I remember correctly.
That is my vague memory as well. It's either the last one or like the second last one.
What would be a really good thing is if he was gay. That'd be great. Like BB was like Bruce or Brian. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's expecting more from this series based on this episode.
You did see this episode's boob grab, right? Like you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodness.
And the first episode, or the second episode, whatever.
There's only 3 females so far in this show outside of Maria, and the only one, or Mary. I think it's Mary. Was it Mary?
It's Maria.
It's
Maria.
Yeah. So, like, and she's the only one treated with respect by the one character you would think would be an old lech.
Yeah.
Like, you would think he'd be the Master Roshi of this team, but he is not.
Also, how is the prospector dude a lieutenant? I saw LT in front of his name when they used it.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name for the life of me, but now he's LT prospector.
It's like Nicholas.
It's LT Nicard or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Lieutenant Nicard. And like, he was there before, so I think he's just sort of like aged into it, and like he hasn't been fired. So he's just sort of like Dunning-Krugered his way up the ranks.
I wish the military actually worked that way.
I also want to know, is that haircut military standard? Because that mustache definitely isn't. Like,
well, again, I think this is all playing into the Vietnam tropes where everything is fast and loose, and you can get away with following up a bunch of your dudes going AWOL with more of your guys going AWOL with bigger equipment.
And slapping them.
Yeah, and slapping them as the only punishment.
Yeah, well, slapping them across an already swollen face, I think that's, several teeth missing and everything.
Yeah.
Mind you, like, this episode, wow, just...
Help.
The only way.
Quick, somebody end this freaking episode.
So you can find all of our stuff over at nostalgiapilots.com. Follow us on Twitter at nostalgiapilots. Find all my business at hughjodonnell.com.
You can find mine over at skinner.fm.
Find me at nerdswithvoices.com.
And find me at resonantmoon.com.
Until next week, I'm going to die without ever hearing it pressed.